Welcome back to another episode of First Light, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of leaders who inspire positive transformation in their communities. I'm your host, Chris Keller, and today we're thrilled to have with us Erica Wolfe. Erica is not just one of the top producing real estate agents in Jupiter, Florida, but a visionary leader in the real estate industry. She heads the Wolfe team, which is renowned for using innovative marketing strategies and creating exceptional client experiences. From custom home videos to hyperlocal market expertise, Erica has redefined what it means to be a realtor in today's competitive landscape. We're going to talk about how she's built a successful business, her unique approach to leadership, and what drives her passion for helping families find their dream homes. Stay tuned for an insightful conversation. Erica, you've been a native of Jupiter, Florida, and now you're one of the most successful real estate agents. Can you share with us your journey, what inspired you to get into real estate, and how did you get started?
It's not like this great inspiring story. I was a teen mom. I was disowned by my family for getting pregnant at 17 and needed to make some money. So I was a bank teller in high school and then shifted to insurance. And then from insurance, I was looking at settlement statements and I was like, real estate agents make a lot more quicker. So I just hopped on and full speed ahead and got into real estate. Is really the truth. It was a need for money was all it was.
So let's talk about, a lot in there. And a lot of us kind of go down that path of chasing money, and we need money to make ends meet. And then at some point, the light goes on and you've transformed into this amazing agency that you have. So let's talk about that. Where was that kind of light bulb moment for you to be this visionary leader to lead your own agency?
Well, I think for a while in real estate, people think it's very glamorous. It is very grueling and it is very tough when you're starting out. And I was a one-man show, I would say, for about 7 years. And there was probably a really big breaking point / burnout in that because I was easily working 90 to 110 hours a week, easily. So, I was making money, but yeah, I'm working 110 hours a week. If you did my hourly rate, it wasn't that great. I just wasn't sleeping. So I had to do something. And so I was able to actually hire my first buyer's agent was the start of building the team. There was no great vision. There was nothing like that. And so I have a girl I actually grew up with, pretty similar story to mine. Said she's going to get a real estate license and would I teach her? And I was like, I've never really taught anybody. Like, are you sure you want to do this? And she said, yeah, and got on board. And I was like, oh shit, I have to give her deals. That means I'm going to get less money. And I have to figure out how to get more leads in. At this point, I was already doing video marketing, but I really stepped into more coaching programs and courses to help me learn to guarantee that I could get more business, right, and get more deals for her. So that was truly the start of it. So it kind of happened organically. Yeah, it wasn't this like amazing vision. And then I think where it turned to a vision and the growth and the opportunities of what I wanted became who I surrounded myself with, people that weren't from Jupiter, right? It's other successful people from all over the nation. When you get in those courses or coaching programs and you get to sit at tables, like I don't know why I was invited to half of those tables, but I was like, holy crap, how did I get here? But I would just learn. I would take in all the information, and that 90 hours, 110 hours, I was still willing to work, but I was probably 40 to 50 hours in the real estate business, and the other portion was building an actual business.
Well, I know you said your story's not inspirational, but it is. And I think it's very true for most of us. So, for me, I started my own firm and similar to you, doing everything and everything to everybody and had to do it all on my own. And what changed it for me was joining a business coaching program. And once I got into business coaching and I went to a seminar, as I've shared my story on this podcast, kind of that aha moment, that lightning went off that, I needed to make some changes. And it started for me, much like yours, of hiring that, another attorney to kind of come in and take some of that workload off of me to free me up. And so your story is very similar to a lot of us that go through that. But take us through that. So you get your first team member. You've never had anybody that's working for you. You've done it. You're used to doing it all your own. And now tell us where you're at and how you got there. And I know, it sounds like a lot of success came through business coaching, but talk to us about that, because it's still a lot on you. There's business coaches, they help, they guide, but they don't do the work.
Yeah, I think the part that may be more unique to me is I've always utilized social media. I get those memories from 13, 14 years ago on Facebook. Well, no, it has to be around longer than that now, because my son's 18 and Facebook was around then. So 18 years ago, and I was using it as a tool for real estate. The worst post ever, by the way. The worst. When I see those, I'm like, this is so cringy. But then I think Snapchat was the first video platform that actually came out, and they allowed filters. So that's how I got on video at first. But it was making fun of people. It was an outlet just to be funny. So it was you could be a grandma, you could be a grandpa, you could be a guy, you could be a girl. It was using those, and I would tell a story of whatever happened with the real estate transaction, and I would post it there just for my friends to see. And they're like, you have got to post this on Facebook. This is hilarious. And I'm like, okay. And I posted it, and I got a listing from it. I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And so, like I said, this had to have been 15 years ago with this. And I was like, this works. So I started doing more and more and more video and putting myself out there. And again, when you look down the memory lane of those videos, they're very pixelated and just awful, right? Because our phones weren't great then. But nobody else was doing that, especially in our area. And at first, it was super cringy what I was doing. I got made fun of a lot, especially in the industry. I was ridiculed and everything. And I would say about 5 years ago, agents started saying, hey, can you show me how you're doing that? I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm happy to show you how to do that. And I love just being so kind about it to them. But I'm like, I remember exactly what you said. I remember, don't forget, but I will help you, yes. But so I think for me, that was a leg up that I had that most people weren't doing. They really, really weren't. And so I started with ad funnels was the first thing. And it was an all-guy group. I was the only girl in it. And it wasn't just for real estate. It was just how do you run a digital funnel. And they were basically either selling solar panels, Amazon, drop shipping, items like that. And I've always been into tech and computers. So I was like, I can launch these videos, run ads behind them, and get people aside from just my friends. And then I learned how to save the audiences and retarget and all of that then. And it started working, and it started working really well. And again, there was nobody in this area that was doing it. And then I started niching down into real estate sectors of ads and businesses and learning. I've done every course out there. I'm a complete course junkie. And I'm like a lifetime learner. I love to try to learn all the new stuff. And I've just implemented. I'm not scared to implement and try it. And as the progression has gone along, I'm totally fine with putting myself out there, totally fine with throwing away money at trying something, because then at least I know. And I'm a control freak, so I have to do it all myself at first. And then I can delegate once I build out the systems the way I want it done. Then I learn to delegate it that way.
Well, I want to talk about the constant learning, because it's so very true in leading a company, building a company. A lot of people don't know how to do that, and they've never done that, especially when you start your own business as a single mom. And so take us through learning and what learning's meant to you, and how learning, reading, coaching programs, all that stuff has really transformed you and your business.
So I've heard from many entrepreneurs that they sucked at school. I was a horrible student. And my mom was a calculus teacher. Okay, so and if you think of a calculus teacher, she was that. Okay, with the ruler in hand, wanted to beat you. I did so bad in school, so it's crazy to me how devoted I am to learning and to reading now, because I was learning or being forced to learn things that had no interest or I didn't think I would be able to utilize. Now I will read a book that is completely pointless because somebody told me it helped them in their business or in their life. And I'm waiting for the point where it will help me. And I'm like, damn, that didn't help me one bit, but I read it. And it's the same with courses for me. If it is something that could have a takeaway for me, like I want to do it, because what if it is the secret sauce and it's the silver or shiny object syndrome? I've gotten over that in the past 2 years a little bit better, but it was bad for like a decade, the shiny object syndrome.
Well, see, I think a lot of us do that, right? When we're always chasing that easy fix in this society, we see, especially on social media, all these images of success, and it looks like people just achieved it overnight. And, for you, a lot of people may look at that and think of that, but they don't look at the 7 years it took you to hire that first assistant. They don't look at the 7 years of the 90 hours that you're doing it, especially, having a kid. So take us through that for you, those early years and some of those challenges that you had to face to get through those 7 years on your own to finally get you to that point where you're hiring your first team member.
I mean, I think with everybody, they have a story, right? Like you overcome something. I love that quote, and I really need to learn who it's from. Like, if you want to be a patient person, you're not going to have an easy life. If you want to be a disciplined person, like, you're not going to have an easy life. They go through all of those things. Like, the hardships are in the buildup of who you are. And my story is littered with crazy stories, like to where if I were to dump it, people are like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, yeah. And then I sound like a little bit of a psycho because I just rattled it off to you, and it doesn't really seem like there's empathy behind it, I guess. But why I say that is because I was 18 with a baby and then had another one at 20. So, and running a business, and just so much crazy stuff happened. But I didn't have time to deal with all the crazy. Like, there was no time to sit on the couch and not go to work. There was no time to do this. Like, I swear that I had my children so young because it was to make me who I am today. Without them, like, I would probably be on similar paths of what my friends were that I grew up with in this town, right? But I had no option. Like, I had to succeed. And I was raised in a family that was, I would say, well-to-do. So I experienced great things. So I knew I wanted those great things, or I would not feel like a loser to my kids if I could provide those great things to them. So I guess that was more like my why and driving force behind it. And I think everybody has stories similar one way or path with that. But so the struggles happen. You just push through it. I mean, I cried a lot. And then there was a point where I didn't cry for like a decade because there was like no more tears. And it was just figuring out how to get through everything. But what really changed it for me was once I had that first hire and I realized I was changing her life. And I said, holy shit, I wish I would have had a me. And I said, this is such an opportunity zone. So now I have a team of 8 agents, and it's, for me, I look at it as such an opportunity and a blessing that I get to help them and better their lives and better their families and give them the easier path. And here's everything I've learned with a pretty bow on it. Go close some deals and let's have some fun while doing it. And that's been like the biggest thing for the culture in my office.
Let's talk about that switch because, it's very similar. I chased money, especially when we're down here in Jupiter, Florida. It's beautiful. And you've got, nice golf courses and the beach, and you see beautiful cars and nice cars and big houses and houses on the water and big boats and all that kind of thing. And you're constantly chasing that money to get that. And at some point when I stopped chasing money, and I started realizing the impact that could have on people and not worrying about money is where things really have kind of taken off and a lot of momentum's been gained. So talk about that switch for you. And
I don't think I realized that switch was happening when it was happening. I would say genuinely over the past 2 years, and more so the past years, when I really realized all of it, like the hindsight of it all and looking at it and what did make it change, what has made me feel this way, what has made me be who I am today, is really sitting in it. Yeah, I think eventually people started telling me what I was doing for them, and I had no idea that I was affecting other people. Like, I knew I was doing that for Carrie, but I didn't know I was doing that for Carrie. Like, it was cool, right? Like, that's cool. I'm doing that for her. Like, look at her. She just, bought this house, or she was just able to do that. Like, she has 3 boys and she was a young mom too. Like, it was cool. But I couldn't articulate that became my new driving factor at the time. It was just a feeling. I was like, this feels good. let's do it again. And it wasn't, like that. My assistant and transaction coordinator, I found her 2.5 years ago. She was giving me a spray tan, and she was from Alabama. She was 19 and one of the nicest humans I'd ever met, and I had only met her for 5 minutes. Great customer service. And I turned around, I'm butt naked, and she's giving me a spray tan. I'm like, you ever thought about a career in real estate? And she's like, what? And I'm like, a career in real estate. Do you want to come work for me? And she's like, this is awkward. I'm like, I know, but you're really good. Like, you're nice. I want, like, you around. I had to go to a conference. That's why I was going to spray tan to speak. And when I got back, she came in and she's like, yeah, I'll do this. And her life has changed so drastically, so much. And she is such a good human. And so now for me, I'm like, what are good people that need a hand up? And not even, I hate saying that as that way, like need a hand up, but like you can tell they're just out there trying. And it's like, you got a good vibe. Come on, let's come work. And so I've been able to do that weirdly on the internet, if that makes sense. It's transitioned outside of my office and within the community nationally. I have 900 agents that are with me that I get to mentor. I get to speak and do courses and coaching and all of this new crazy stuff. But I'm 100% certain why I'm doing this and the direction I'm going with this is to help others. But it all started because I was being super selfish.
Yep, no, I hear you, and so much that you. It's like where do we start?
Where do you want to go? I told you it's long.
That is a lot, but one of the things that's been true for us is that we started hiring for traits versus for experience. Where we stopped hiring people for just experience and just looked at their traits. It's made a huge difference for us. And so I was going to talk about that, but I think what you talked about, where you started. Your own your own agency until where you're at now. Now you 900 kind of agents throughout. But speaking, seminars, webinars, being on podcasts, all that stuff. I'm sure that's something when you first got into real estate that you never envisioned or thought of, and saw yourself up on stage. So talk to us about that transformation, that journey for you, that now you're kind of up front teaching and leading and what that's like.
Yeah, and it's crazy how confident I am in that role. And again, because that wasn't the goal. That wasn't at least I thought, the journey or the path. But I've spent so much time, and because I think I've done every role and every position within the company, my systems are amazing. I'm very big on systems and tech and obviously social media, but we're so built out. The last 2 years, I've told my personal coach, when she asks like goals and things like that, staying consistent, adding nothing new, no shiny object, just staying the course and staying the path, because I'm that confident in what works in our business. And because I had the shiny object syndrome and because I had those things, like I'm so willing to speak on my failures in front of people, to say like, don't waste your time with this, go do this. Don't do that, do this. And I honestly, there's been so many people that do reach out to me and say how much I've helped them. And this sounds so like ridiculous saying in a microphone out here. But it helped build the confidence that like, if I could help that one person and I just, they made $30,000 more on a commission check because of this template that I shared. It could have taken me 30 minutes to make the template, but it was 15 years experience that helped me to make that template, right? But if I could share that and change them for that, why the hell not? Like I got it from all these other places. I just condensed it and put it together. And that really just helps build the confidence. It's crazy. Like I keep saying, I get invited to sit at some of these tables and I like look next to me and it's like these superstar like agents or these like famous and popular people. I'm like, why the hell did I get invited here? And then I open my mouth and I'm like, am I here for the jokes?
No.
Did they invite me for that?
It's funny. I talk about that a lot about, I always used to fight for a seat at the table. I wanted to, be at the table. I wanted to have a seat at the table. And now I'm not so worried about being at the table and kind of same thing when I get invited to be at the table. It's a pinch yourself moment, but I don't worry about it anymore. I don't worry about that. But what I want to talk to you about is, you said that you have a personal coach and you've done all the masterminds and groups. So you've made this a big investment in yourself. So let's talk about that investment that you made in yourself and how it's really kind of helped you, and also the health wellness aspect. Because I know you've lost weight and you did the whole 70, or I call it's the whole 30, but the hard 75. I did the whole 30 diet, but the hard 75. So talk about kind of making that investment in yourself with coaching, and also the real shift and focus on health and wellness for you.
So I have two different coaches. I have a business coach and a personal coach. My personal coach came after my divorce. And that's where truly who I am now, like the absolute best version of myself came out, was through that. Sorry, I don't really talk about that, like the catalyst of it all. But sometimes you have to fall to your knees to get back up. And I would say that was 100% the lowest point of my life, and having to figure out how to do something on my own. Like I'd never truly been alone. I've had my children, like my son went off to UF, so it's just really trying to, holy shit, I'm going to be alone and I have to do this. And who do I call when like something's wrong, or like, I don't know. And I just was so not confident in myself. And when you're in a relationship you shouldn't be in, and you get told you're something you're not over and over, you start believing it. So my personal coach got hired then. And I was paying $1,000 a week. I was 5 days a week. Then we went down to 4 days a week. Then we went to 3 days a week. Then we went to 2 days a week. And now we're once a week. I say she really helped me, just even keel out. And she taught me so much. Like there's so many blessings and gifts in the falling. And when stuff happens and when bad things happen, there's always a gift with it, right? There never isn't a gift with it. And in the moment you're like, what the hell, there's no gift, what is it, my life's falling apart, but it has to fall apart to build back up. So the 75 hard started as a complete accident. I'm a reader. I started my affirmations. I started journaling. Like I was trying to do anything just to heal myself. Like you go down these healing journeys. I'm listening to all these podcasts. I'm like, heal me. Like, I don't know what heal me means, but please just like get me to stop crying. And so one of my good friends, Marley, said, will you go walk, please? And I'd call her and she'd be like, go walk right now. And I'm like, what? And there's a trail right across. So I was walking 3 to 4 times a day. And I had a bike that I bought during the pandemic. It was like a $1,500 bike from the fancy place, actually right next door. Rode it once, but it was sitting in my garage. And now I ride my bike every other day. I can go up to 15 miles. Like it all started accidentally. I wasn't drinking because I was emotional, and I was like, somebody said to me, like, you're doing 75 hard. I'm like, no shit, am I? Wow, I've always wanted to do that, but I never thought I could actually do it. Like the working out twice, like the reading I can get through, the working out once a day I could do. The no drinking was probably going to be hard for me. And I was like, screw it, I'm going to do it. So I committed to the 75 hard. I went 93 days. It became 93 days because I went to Europe for the Taylor Swift concert, and I wasn't going to not drink in Europe. Like the wine, I just had to. So, but I would say I live pretty much by that now. I try to. Most days, I stick with it. Our whole team just did 30 days hard. It was our own makeup of it because the girls would not commit to 75, but I got them to commit to 30, and that ended yesterday. And they all feel great, and I'm glad they did it, and I'm sure they're going to keep some of those habits as well. It was just one of the best things I could have done. And when you are in a bad place, getting the help, just like if you feel like your business is struggling, that investment for a coaching is probably exactly what you need. If you're struggling personally, you probably need a therapist or a personal coach to help you. Like you can't see it when you're in it. Most of the time you can't see it. And you put on these rose-colored glasses and think everything's fine, or, like you'll get through it. But when you say stuff out loud to somebody, they're like, wow, that sounds actually really bad. I'm going to tell you everything you're doing wrong, but here's how you fix it, and you do everything right.
Yeah, and it's made the biggest difference for me as well. We talked about, journaling and reading and all those types of things. A big part of the story that I've shared with myself is obviously adopting a strong morning routine. And it's, for me, it started off with, sitting in silence, saying the affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading a lot and scribing or journaling. So talk about the impact that kind of going through some of those things for you has had on your life and what you've been able to take from that.
So how the affirmations kind of started is one of the people that I was sitting at a table with in a pinch me moment that I didn't think I should be sitting with. I called him and I was crying and he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "How do you pray?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "How do you pray? Like, I don't know how to pray. Nobody's taught me how to pray." And why I called him was because every time before dinner he would pray. Every time he would like send me some pray quotes. Like it was, so nice. So I was like, I'm going to ask him how to do it because like I'm desperate. I need to pray. And he's like, "Are you journaling?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You should add that too." And he's like, "What about the affirmations? Remember I showed you my affirmations?" I'm like, "Oh, you did show me those." I was like, "Can I just use yours?" He's like, "Why would you use mine?" And I'm like, a good point. I should make up my own. So that's how that started. And I've been able to share that pretty openly to a lot of people about how that has changed my life. Like my affirmations, when I wrote them in February, what they were, all of them have come true. And I have had to update them. And it's like very specific things. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like the universe is so trippy to me when you actually think about it. I was like, did all that happen just because I said it? Or did I make it happen because I was saying it? Like, I don't know the why or the correlation, but I never missed my affirmations. My journaling is great. I do skip around. I'm not as good every day on it. I would say like 5 days a week I will get it. Because if I just feel like I don't have anything I need to say, like I'm not going to write like today's fine in the journal. So, but it's totally changed my habits, like my morning routine. The biggest thing with waking up early is because I pour in on social media and I'm around people with teams, my team members, my clients, my kids, my family, like all of it is those 3 hours in the morning. If I wake up at 5, I have 3 hours to myself before I have to show up for like 16 hours for everybody else. And if I don't do that in the morning, I'm not getting anything I wanted to do for me actually done. And maybe I could get stuff done for me. Like, okay, I can go to the mall and I'm probably going to be talking to clients while on the phone or talking to agents that need help while on the phone. Like truly nobody calls me before 7:30.
And that's what's changed my life too, is that having that time in the morning alone where I can go through all that. So I have to end with, give us that piece of advice for someone, that's...
I already talked that much.
You're doing great, and your story is amazing. I know you said you started off with, I don't have that inspirational story. Your story is truly inspiring, and you're doing all the things that really, matter in life, that change your life, and it's been phenomenal. So looking back and telling your younger self or telling your kids, because they're your age when you kind of figure it out, what's that piece of advice that you give people looking back on your story?
Keep going, keep showing up, and be the person you want to be. Really be the person you want to be.
It can happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Erica, we do appreciate your time and being here with us today, sharing your story. It is truly inspirational. So thank you very much. Erica, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible journey and insights into the world of real estate. It's clear that your passion for helping others, your innovative approach, and your dedication to excellence have truly set you apart in the industry. If you enjoyed that episode, don't forget to subscribe to First Light for more inspiring conversations. Until next time, keep shining your light.